discussion of today is, we're Adam and Eve Siamese twins. What do you say?
It's good, eh?
We're Adam and Eve Siamese twins.
That's why you have spines this.
So, we learned the pasuk yesterday.
But then he has a wife beforehand,
The Lamed Lamed.
Yeah.
The Yivra Lakim Es Ha'odam B'Tzalmei B'Tzelem Lakim Bara Oisai. God made him. Zachar Unekeva Bara Oisam. Male and female, He made them. Which is interesting because you already see that there's something very fascinating about gender identity here. He made him and her. And these are much longer discussions, definitely much more for in-person speaking, sharing. He made him, Zachar Nekeva Bara Oisam. So, this Rashi is exceptionally important. This is like a mega Rashi here. This is a super Rashi. Zachar Nekeva Bara Oisam. He made them male and female. So it sounds like He made them together. Zachar Nekeva Bara Oisam. He made them. Looks like they were together, fashioned. But later, when we get into the later part of Bereshis, into the second chapter, Bereshis, Genesis 2:21, so the pasuk says, "Hu oimer v'yikach achas mitzaloisav," and it says He takes one of Adam's ribs. So they were made male and female together, or it was male, and then God from the side. And the ribs don't mean the ribs, it means the side. From the side of Adam is where Eve comes from.
If they're back, how would it decide?
Well, let's see. We usually think of side here. This could also be the side.
Yes,
Depends where your reference point is. So in order to answer this stira, so Rashi answers the stira. Because there is a contradiction. Did God make them together, or did He make man and then remove Eve from man? Like man was by himself, and then Eve was taken out from Adam. So Rashi says, "B'medrash Haggadah, shenivru shnei partsufim bebriya rishona." They were one body with two heads. Parts means heads, faces. There were two faces. Shnei partsufim. They're Siamese twins. One body. And you can ask, did they share essential eternal organs, vital organs, one heart? We've had Siamese twins that had a famous case in Lakewood with a 6-chamber heart. Famous case in Lakewood, New Jersey, about a baby with a 6-chamber heart.
How many chambers?
4 chambers. And there was a big discussion, actually, when my father-in-law comes, because my father-in-law is a real big expert in this topic, because he's one of these big doctors. So. And he understands he's a genius in Torah learning. So he speaks a lot about this time. There's a famous case about this 2-headed baby that, pardon? Jewish baby. Siamese twins that were attached with the way the doctors assessed it. They had a 6-chamber heart that they were sharing. And the way they assessed it was that if they were to separate the children, one would definitely die, the way they were attached. And they wanted to know, could they save the other child by separating the two? And that was also risky. If they let them live, their assessment was that they'd only be able to live a certain amount of time and then die of natural causes. if they made a surgery, would they be able to surgically remove one of those children and attempt to save the other one and give the other one a normal life? They went to Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Shalom Rab from Scotland. What do you guys say? Are you allowed to do the surgery or not? Do the surgery? Rob, what do you say? You could do the surgery, not do the surgery. What do our friends say? Do the surgery or not do the surgery?
Definitely going to die.
They're both definitely going to die, but can you actually willingly do the surgery?
No, why not? Saving a life.
Save a life. Nick says that.
Is that called saving a life or is that called murder?
Nick says that.
Is that called murder?
In case, no,
Nick says no, Rob says
in
yes.
case of if a woman is giving birth and she's going to die, there's a point of saving a life. There's a life thing that you should save the.
That is if the baby is inside the mother.
Yeah,
I feel like
This is now a child that's already born.
I feel like
Well,
you
child.
let nature take, like, I feel like, I don't know.
I mean, can you actively get involved? First,
You choose what a normal life is for it? I don't know.
So
I feel like-
it's not like they're separate ones inside.
also, how much do you trust the doctors? Their assessment was that one of the babies for sure. I mean, they would both die eventually,
Okay, so, or you can take
and not so long because that God will just make a miracle.
No.
This would have been a miracle. It would have been a miracle.
I
That
think,
situation would be a miracle.
I think that, like.
But would they be considered two souls?
Oh, what do you guys say? Are these even considered two people?
Well, they're a singular person.
Of course, I think it's two brains.
Two brains? Is that what makes a person a person? Two souls?
I feel like you need like that reason.
There's no way they can think that doesn't have a soul.
Did the rabbi just decide if it was one or two souls?
Well, these were all big discussion points. Was there two souls? Let me give you another example. What if a person, God forbid, has a gangrene leg? And are you allowed to cut it off to save the person?
What does that say?
Infected leg.
Infected leg. Are you allowed to cut off the leg to save the person? Of course. Do we see these two people as like really one person that has a part of them that's trying to kill them?
Parasite.
No, I'd say it's one soul.
One soul, two heads.
They think differently, they have their own thoughts.
They share a heart.
So a soul is limited to one set of thoughts.
Everybody that can think is their own individual person, and every person has a soul. That's the way I look at it. So they both have.
Yeah.
Well, they were babies, so they weren't talking.
Hell, they're thinking.
Still, they're human beings.
Where's mine?
You have the short sheet of people with multiple.
I think it's one soul in this case.
One soul that has like a gangrene.
Yeah, it's just this is a crazy neshama that have become this world in this form.
I think God chose for them to come down.
What if you had 4 arms? You would be like, oh, one soul can only have 2 arms. Like, no.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're saying it.
No, but Daniel's saying that the soul is connected to the brain. Why don't we say that soul is connected to the brain?
Yeah, a whole bunch of
Two sides of the brain.
Your stomach's actually got even more.
Rob is saying 100% cut off to live. Rob is going with 100% to cut off to live.
Be surprised.
Do you guys agree with Rob? 100% to cut off. Rob is paskening a halacha here.
I think
Can
we keep.
we make it like a bit more definitive? Let's say if you keep the head, that child will live to the age of 13. If you remove the head and there's a singular child, that child will live to the age of 40.
Well, also, how do we know that?
14 or 40?
40.
How do we know that?
No, we don't. Here's the point. Just
We don't. We're assuming that that's what would happen based on medical research.
You might do it, they both might die. Surgery.
Yeah, and you could end up keeping it like living to 40. Who knows? Like, you know.
So one of the points was
Maybe
mentioned.
God later on, they would've-
If there's a baby inside of a mother's womb and the baby is threatening the life
I would say.
of the mother.
13.
Do the Jewish people believe in abortion, by the way?
No, it depends how old.
Not unless the mother's going to be killed. And even then, I don't agree with you, Torah. I think you should save the baby. That baby has a full life.
And that's what we did. Rachel
Baby
died,
considered
and Rachel died, and Benjamin was
Yeah, I
born.
think it's stupid.
Why is it stupid?
that it's not a baby.
They didn't abort it now, and they kept it.
Well, yeah, it's like clean abortion, but you have to say your wife is second child.
No, I know what the Torah says. Like, let's say someone's on life support and they can't breathe on their own, they can't live on their own. Life support, you kill them?
Yeah, it's murder.
The one thing that we know is that no murder is allowed.
I'm saying the baby is a.
Murder is always going to be a red line. There can never be murder.
Correct. But you have to choose.
So what do you say? These two babies, two babies connected together, are you allowed to do the cut?
No.
Two babies connected together. 6-chamber heart.
If they're for sure going to die, no. I mean, yes, but if they're going
Are
to
you
live
cutting
for a
off two of
while,
the chambers of the heart with it also? Or you
Let's say you keep the heart intact.
it's just that one head that's just going to be yammering. But if they're both going to die,
This was a very complex question that was brought to Moshe Feinstein.
Did he answer it quickly or did he think about it?
He thought about it. He, of course, went deeply into the sugya, spoke to all the doctors about it.
Do you have the answer of what they did, or we just kind of?
I do have the answer,
I'm just saying.
but I want you to think about it.
I
want you to
say
think what you would do.
can't cut it. Can't cut it off. I mean, maybe if, like,
My key is called, what's the cut called? We're talking about two Siamese twins linked together. Do you, and one of them will die. Both will die if you don't separate one. Do we even call them two people?
how do you choose which one to separate?
one would be said like medically proper to.
Well, whatever.
Moshe
If it's like a
Feinstein,
regular body and then there's like a head coming out of the shoulder, maybe it would be good to cut off that head. But if it was like two heads evenly coming out, like how do you decide which one to cut off?
that was also part of the medical assessment that they called baby number 1, baby number 2, I think maybe A and B,
It would be dual.
and they.
Two names?
It would be a spine.
This question is so deep because it involves so many parts of Jewish law, of where is the soul, what makes the human. Very deep. The Torah has a principle called rodef. If somebody is coming, God with a gun, and chasing after somebody else. So in self-defense, is he allowed to shoot back? It's called a rodef. Someone's coming, do you have to just say, well, guess it's my destiny? Or do you say no? The Torah says that you would defend yourself. So do we see that baby number 2 was like chasing after baby number 1? I mean, these are big questions, and this was this is a real case example.
Number two, how do you decide which one to choose?
Because the way that the doctors assessed it, and that itself, how much do you trust the medical assessment in Torah law?
If you don't trust anyone, you can't walk across a bridge. So you have to have some trust.
Exactly.
You have to do your own done research to.
That's right.
understand.
That's right. So the Torah does say if things make sensible, they're giving us being. So this is a very complex question. Adam and Eve were made in such a way. Adam and Eve were made in such a way, though, that they were two faces, and then God cut them apart.
It said 2 arms, 2 legs, not like 4 arms, 4 legs. We're going to get this.
It seems that there was one body and 2 faces
For Adam and Eve?
facing away from each other. Acher ba'acher. They were like one body, but his head was facing like this, her head was facing like this. And God is slicing them this way.
Also,
By the way, when did that happen? When was the slicing?
they had like double feet.
On Rosh Hashanah.
Double, like their hands were just like 2 palms facing outwards, 2 feet facing out.
But Rosh
Or was
Hashanah
it
is the 6th day.
Because if you cut it down the middle, it has
Yeah,
to
this is
be
on the 6th day.
Yeah.
This is today.
So in drums, both parts of everything, male and female parts.
That's also interesting. There was Zocher and Nekeva. Male, female. He made them. And then God made on Rosh Hashanah. That's why one of the deepest parts of Rosh Hashanah is called the Nesira, the cutting apart. The time when God is slicing. Now, what's the benefit of Adam and Eve being made as one?
Perfect.
You're never lonely. You know, your wife is always right here. You never lose her. She's not going to run away. She's not going to find some other monkey or something to hang out with.
See the result. I'm not going to say it.
So, what's the benefit of cutting them apart? No, I'm now in Adam and Eve.
Oh, they're going to choose.
Because here they could live.
Then they can choose each other.
Then they can choose. Then they can choose each other. Being created as one carries natural resentment, because I never chose this. A lot of people that are FFB feel this feeling. I never chose this. Pardon? People that grew up sometimes, and there's this feeling like I never chose this. Sometimes children, I'm sure everybody here is a perfect angel and never felt like any resentment. I never chose this. So what happens in the teenage years is oftentimes this feeling of like, I have to leave. Now the hope is, just like Adam and Eve were cut apart, the hope is that after they'd be cut apart, they would be able to come back and face each other now.
Is that a conscious thing?
Yes, this is a big part of the whole discussion here of Adam and Eve, is what the Kabbalah calls achar va'achar, back-to-back consciousness, of like, I didn't choose this. It's called back-to-back. When you turn your back to somebody, it shows disinterest. That's the deeper symbolism here of being disinterested, forced into it. So at least you're one, but when you cut them apart, so there's risk. She could go this way, he can go this way. They may not come back to each other. But if they do, then they will have chosen each other. So all of this, by the way, is an analogy of our souls. Before God created the world, where do you think our souls were? With God. That was an element of back-to-back with God. We didn't choose this. So what does God do on Rosh Hashanah? These are deep tears. He, so to speak, cuts us. We come down to this world, but it's risky. If we would have stayed up in Shemayim by the Kisei HaKavod, so we would have been just connected, but there would be a resentment. I didn't choose this. We come down to this world. There's a lot of other things you could choose. A bunch of blue pills everywhere. Forget about where you come from. So it's risky. But with it carries the greatest benefit that you could now become what's called panim b'panim. You could come and face each other. You could choose it. You could come back and choose it. That's why Bali Tshuva is so amazing. Because there's a coming back. I want this now. I'm choosing this.
Did we not enjoy being up there with God?
We did, but there was some resentment that I never chose this. I'm forced into this. That's why a child has a natural feeling of rebellion. And we hope a good parent understands, because probably they did the same thing when they were kids, is that a child needs to sometimes go, but we hope that the child was given enough love that they'll want to come back. They want to come back. But now they're choosing it. Now they're really choosing it. That's why Rosh Hashanah is really the holiday of free will. It's the day that free will begins. It's the holiday of free will.
So that's why everyone's decided on Rosh Hashanah. If money get, if we live, we die.
How much do you want Hashem? How much are you really coming back to God? How much do you want God? It's an amazing time, Rosh Hashanah. So Adam and Eve are made Siamese twins back to back. And then God says, I didn't make you just to be back to back. By the way, back to back, like we mentioned, means disinterested. Imagine two people are sitting across from each other and they're both on their phones. They're on a date. This one's talking to this person, that one's talking to that person. They're also back to back. Somebody one time pointed out that imagine two people are back to back. They're actually the farthest in the world, the two people farthest in the world from each other. Because if I'm facing my back this way and you're that way, so you have to go around the entire globe to face each other. There's no two further people in the world that are literally together, back to back. So the entire mission of relationship is that I'm coming and I'm facing you, I'm choosing you. So this is beginning now. We don't find this with any of the animals because they don't have free will. This is only a human quality. That's why really the one thing that defines you, my friends, is your free will. What are you choosing? Let's say a person comes to shir, not to get personal, I think, but they don't want to be here. Are they really facing shir, so to speak? Or they're here, but it's as if to say that their back is turned, they're thinking about somewhere else. They're coming because they feel forced. The back, the idea of ochor, is something that I do, but I'm not interested in it. The way the Baal HaTanya explains it is imagine a king puts into custody some villain, and he wants to take him to trial. So he puts him in a dungeon or something, and he feeds him, because he has to get him ready to come to trial. So when they bring him his food, do you think they bring him his food like with a big smile? The Baal HaTanya doesn't know, they chuck it over their shoulder, like as if to say, take this. I'm giving to you, not because I want to, but because I need to right now, for a purpose. By the way, this gets into a very deep discussion of the entire Yetzer Hara. Because God gives energy to the whole world. What do you mean? He gives energy to the Yetzer Hara? Yes. But the way that God gives energy to the Yetzer Hara is from the back. Is that I don't want the Yetzer Hara. But there's a reason why the Yetzer Hara is here. So it, so to speak, sustains the Yetzer Hara like this. There's a reason why you're here, but don't think that I want you here.
Best friend who's like our coach.
He is. That's why God is keeping it alive. We're going to learn the Yetzer Hara is Tov Ma'od. Tov Ma'od. Very good. Because any rebellion and any evil in the world goes against God. It's only because it helps a person to be able to choose that it has a purpose. But once the 6,000 years are done, so Hashem's going to shech the Yetzer Hara.
I mean, the Yetzer Hara doesn't actually want us to fail. It wants us to like say no. It wants us to succeed, no?
So there is a Zohar that's very, very deep, and I'll tell it to you now. Once upon a time, there was a king. You heard this one before? Once upon a time, there was a king. And the king had a son. And the son was not exactly such kingly material. The son he enjoyed, royal privileges. And he used the, royal treasury accounts to support his habits. And the son of the king was going to inherit the throne. the entire throne would be a laughingstock if this became the king. Okay, we seem to have such examples in the world. That this is kingship. So the father wanted to do something that would help his son become kingly material. So the king contacted the greatest zoina in the kingdom. I don't know how you say that in a clean language, in English. A prostitute. And the prostitute was contacted, was summoned to the palace, and the king said to the prostitute, I want you to go seduce my son. My king? Now, she's also part of the kingdom. Why would she want to do that? I want you to go and seduce my son. So, but my king? I can't do that. The king said, you have to do this. And don't hold anything back, because if you hold something back, then he'll never, if the Zoina was not exactly such a seductive person, that wouldn't be much of a test. It has to be that you are the most seductive possible. And the prostitute went and started to seduce. And because the prince was able to reject seductions, that transformed him into somebody of kingly stature, which is interesting because the Zohar seems to place that the real marking of a king is somebody who has control over that area. As the real marking of a king. So what's the analogy all about? The king is Hashem. The prostitute is the Yetzer Hara. And we're the princes. We're the princes. God says, I want to give you my kingdom. But I can't give a kingdom to people that are not kingly material. So I'm going to seduce them in this area. By the way, this Zohar changed my entire life. This is a completely life-changing piece of Zohar. So every seduction coming is allowing you to become the kings that you're supposed to be. You want to hear something else they add in Chabad? They say something very profound. They say that the first Zoina, the first prostitute, was so unable to do this because to seduce the prince, that was like... So the Zoina hired another Zoina. And she said, the king told me to do this. I want you to do this on my behalf. And that Zoina, who was very close to the first one, which is close to the will of the king, also felt, I can't do this. She hired another Zona. She hired another Zona. She hired another Zona. Until there was so many hiring of Zonas that the last one didn't even know that it was coming from the king, but was doing the will of the king. And that's the Yetzer Hara. That's where the Yetzer Hara could be ruthless and almost feel like has no compassion, but is still actually doing the original will of the king. That's the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is literally here to turn you into kings. But the king would appreciate if you were a king without him having to hire a Zoina. It was only because the prince was not at that level that it would be fitting that he should inherit the kingdom. The game changer.
Why would the prince not give in to the seduction? He wasn't.
The king the whole time is watching on CCTV like, I hope he doesn't do this. But he's also, he wants that the seduction is real, otherwise it's not going to turn him into a master.
The prince is not acting anywhere in a good way. Why would they?
Because this is the king's only son. And the king knows that there's going to come a time for him to inherit the kingdom.
I'm asking why to reject.
Yeah, he was doing all this bad stuff before.
Yeah,
Like, why?
Because the king believes in his son. You don't think God believes in us?
But
What, that you want to stoop down to such a low level? Is that
Yes. The king believes in us. The king would only do this if he believed that this is going to actually turn him into a king.
I mean, he didn't even have like temptations that bad before, and he was still like using all the kingdom's things and everything. And then this is the turning point. This is when he's like, oh, I won't do it. Like, why? What
This
was
because
the
this is the challenge that turns a person into a king.
What was the Yetzer Tov that helped him through it? Like,
Because he knows that I am kingly. I'm from the kingdom. The king knew latent inside the prince is something great. Latent inside the prince is something great and majestic in potential. He's just not actualizing it. So I'll open up some questions now from our chevra, because Daniel always enjoys when we hear some of the questions from the chevra. So my dear friends, what do you say about the king? What do you say about the prince? So our woe, I mean, it's quite possible they were Siamese twins. Totally far out, but possible, yes. I would suggest our woe to look at Rashi. Read Rashi on the verse, Zachar u'nekeva bara osam. Open up a Bible in Genesis 1:27, and you will see that through the verse, it is clear indication of God making one and making them both at the same time, male and female. So look here and you'll see the entire revelation from Rashi about the nature of Adam and Eve. Thank you so much for the wonderful question.
How do we connect this to Adam and Eve? Like, who's Adam? Adam is the prince,
Adam is the prince.
and then what? Eve.
And so is Eve. So is Eve, because they have free will now. Each of them have free will. Will she be seduced? And there were seductive forces. We're going to learn a lot about the snake. The snake only made a little appearance in Rashi.
So she did get seduced. They both got seduced. They both did.
Yeah,
So they both got kicked out of the kingdom.
that's right. So that was the time, though, that before, so this is what happened. Before they got seduced by the snake, they were fitting for the kingdom. They were fitting for the kingdom, but they were sheltered in the kingdom. They never quite knew what it meant to become kingly. After they fell, the falling is them getting involved in things. But the hope of the king is that even after they've seen things, been involved in things, that they would return and activate within them, through their free will now, their kingly essence, their queenly essence. That a man should be a king and a woman should be a queen. And that God says, you will inherit the kingdom. You will inherit the kingdom. So, play the creator. Why does Judaism have the evil eye? So the idea of an evil eye is really only in so much that you believe in it. If you put so much focus on such a thing, let's go with Rambam a little bit. If you go with so much focus, like this person's trying to get me, so you're creating a psychosomatic loop inside your brain that's creating problems. But King David, it says, was impervious. The evil eye could not touch him. Because he was so connected to God that nobody could touch me. King David. And therefore, play the creator. Don't be so worried about it. Don't invest in it. Don't give it power. Judaism believes in the power of your own thoughts. So don't give it power. The Ramban would say that there is forces, and you just battle those forces through Emunah. Yes, tzitzis, Rabbi saying. Tzitzis, the Gemara Menachos, tzitzis will save you.
From so many things, and will also give you many children and a faithful wife, and there's so many things.
The merit of tzitzis. Get involved in tzitzis. Tzitzis is a very, very powerful mitzvah.
We also didn't have a conclusion to the Siamese story.
The Siamese stories that Moshe said to cut, to attempt to save the baby. So there was a complication in the surgery and they did not make it. And that's what he paskened.
I think the answer would have been to just let them go.
So you'll, when Chizzuk happens and Moshe and Moshe Feinstein comes back, so you'll have a good conversation with Moshe Feinstein about this topic. He'll probably say to you, make sure you learn all the Gemaras and all the Shulchan Aruch, and then you'll have a much better, foot in the door to have all the discussions.
I'm sure there's Gemaras that make it seem like you should do it, and there's Gemaras that make it seem like you shouldn't.
So I see that ha-romach, Judaism doesn't accept human sacrifice to atone for sin. That is absolutely true. Human sacrifice is called murder. That's completely forbidden from the Torah. Do not murder.
They accept goat sacrifice.
That's animal. That's not human. That's not human. If anybody is talking at all about human sacrifice, run away from them very, very fast.
Doesn't the Quran talk about human sacrifice?
Run away. Just run away. That's murder. Run away. Run away. You're hanging around the wrong parties. You got to run away.
The Yetzer Hara is meant when we get tests, it's meant to test us and make us realize that we're better than that, and that if we're able to overcome it, and then we get a realization, life is deeper than
Yes.
Yetzer Hara.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So Liam is saying, I hope this is financial advice. Well, it's not financial advice. I would seek a competent financial advisor for your financial questions. This is Torah advice of how to use your free will properly. And what I can say about financial advice is try to just be very intelligent with the way that you spend money, and do not spend it in irresponsible ways.
The less you need, the happier you are.
Unless you eat.
The less you need.
Yeah.
A rich man is happy with his life.
Ezu Asher, who is the rich man? Sameach bechelkei. He's happy with what he has. So we'll just have a few more minutes, a few more questions.
Okay.
It's only a fire question. You got excited. Go ask the deepest question.
So Joseph is mentioning that prophecies have been fulfilled. Yes, prophecies are being fulfilled before our very eyes. And I would suggest everybody learn Isaiah very well, learn Yechezkel very well, learn the Torah, Deuteronomy 30. Go to Deuteronomy 30, verses 3 through 5. You will see that the end of days will bring the return of people coming back to God and the return back to Eretz Yisrael. We're seeing it happening before our very eyes. Thank you, Joseph, for the wonderful comment. Liam is saying, is Talmud good? The Talmud is very good. It's the oral tradition that accompanies the written Torah. You cannot have a written Torah without an oral tradition because you don't even know how to read it. Rugans is saying, Trump with 2 exclamation marks. We are very, very supportive of the president, and we are very, very thankful for all that the goodwill and good things that the president does. You can be critical of a president. That is absolutely acceptable, and point out flaws. These are human beings, and at the same time appreciate good things that a president does. Siraj is mentioning to lower interest. So if you mean lower interest from high interest loans, then I would suggest that's a very good thing, because to to have very high interest loans is not a good business to be in. Even though you, the moneylender, may make a lot of money, it's not a good thing. It's more predatory, and I would suggest to get away from it. Be careful of any high interest loans, especially when they say like free loan, or and then fine print, with 200% interest. Be very careful of these, and it's not a good idea. Stay very much away from high interest loans. So veritas ratio. So Joseph, if that's referring to me, so I like to think that I'm connected to Yosef Atzadik, and the Kedusha of Yosef Atzadik is mentioning that evidence points to a naturalistic explanation for the universe. The only problem, Veritas, is there's zero natural evidence for the beginning of finite matter. Science has no explanation for that, only theory. And scientists sound very much like faith people all of a sudden when it comes to the origin of the universe. There's zero evidence for the origin of the universe with any scientific basis.
Only a logical explanation.
The logical explanation is creation, and there's a creator.
Infinite.
The infinite is creating the finite.
I mean, what would your advice be for all the other nations as we're getting closer and closer to Mashiach?
The greatest thing for the world to do is to embrace the 7 Noahide laws, which include no idol worship. God is not a man, God is infinite. There are tzaddikim, there are righteous people that walk the world. Connect to them. Connect to the one God. Learn the 7 Noahide laws, my friends. Okay, one more question from our dear friends here. So wonderful to have you all here in our global Bible studies group.
If you hit the arrow, it'll take you down the bottom.
Alright, what about people who say the universe existed?
It's a contradiction because finite matter can't exist forever, because it would be at the end of existence. We're not there. The universe can expand, but we can't be at the end of it. Time is the greatest proof of that, because time can't have existed forever, because we're at this finite point in time. So if it existed forever, it must be forever the other direction. But we're moving a long time. So if anybody ever saw in school like the timeline, and it says like infinite on this side, infinite the other side, and then in the middle you are here, that's fake news. That's ultimate fake news. Because any finite point on a line cannot be infinite, because this point is not the other point. So it's very, very important is that has to definitely be erased from the books. It's absolutely illogical.
Is the spiritual stronger or more powerful than the physical?
Spiritual is always more powerful than the physical, because the spiritual is compared to light and the physical is compared to darkness.
What about as above, so below?
What do you mean by that?
Isn't there like a count, like as above, so below? Whatever happens up there happens down here. Whatever happens down here happens up there.
It's not referring to the power. The power of spirituality is compared to light, and a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. I would have thought if I have a little candle, so in a dark room, I would have the amount of light of the candle equal to the size of the candle right beside the candle. But I light one candle and the whole room lights up, because a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. Spirituality is compared to light. Sometimes all you have to do is just bring a little bit of light into the darkness, and the darkness runs away. Okay, the last question from our chevra. I see that Siraj is really making sure that people know about lowering the interest. Thank you for that comment.
What do you think about what was it?
Green prints. So
We just saw him out the window.
Really?
Yeah, this saw him.
He's back.
Who is it?
I never met him. I don't know. I don't know. A person has to know how to call out evil things in the world, and he has to know how to call out good things in the world. And I don't know.
Seems to be called.
I don't know. It's I don't know. I have not met him. I don't know what he's up to. If a person was involved in evil behavior and then they got out of that evil behavior, then that's to be commended. That's for sure.
His father was like one of the founders of Allah.
So if a person got out of a bad place and now he's coming into a different place, then that's something that's positive. Okay, our last question. Joseph is saying that our DNA has God's signature. And then he says Yud Kei Vav Kei. A 10, a 5, a 6, and a 5. Thank you, Joseph, for the gematria lesson of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Maybe you'd like to share a little bit more information about how the 10, the 5, the 6, and the 5 is one of the DNA codes inside the body. I'm not,
I've seen it before. It's like the spacing between each like.
So that's fascinating. I always love when I see science revealing itself.
Each DNA has like the letters, right?
Yes.
So like the spacing between them is like
10 spaces, 5, 6, and 5.
5 is
That's very beautiful. It doesn't surprise us. God is the creator, sustainer of heaven and earth.
God left his signature.
God definitely leaving his signature in everything. Joseph, that's a very beautiful thought. Thank you. That's actually very, very beautiful.
Can you free out the group? Can you find the source in the group?
Yeah, so I've seen a couple of different sources.
So Grody is saying, what's the most important part of the Bible to you? So the rabbis actually talked about this. They said, what's the greatest part of the Bible? So they had a discussion. They said, maybe the greatest part of the Bible is Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Maybe the greatest part is Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Those are pretty big ones. God is one, God unity, or love your fellow, which means between me. So Joseph's got to, it's not going on the 22 letters, not Yud Kei Vav Kei.
Explain what you just did, he probably knows about the spirit.
And there's one more opinion. There's one more opinion that the greatest verse in the Torah is Esakeves echad taseh ba'boiker v'esakeves hasheni taseh ben arbaim. And the offering you bring in the morning and the offering you bring in the afternoon. Wait a second. That's the greatest verse in the Torah. Make sure to have the Tamid of the morning in the Beis HaMikdash and the Tamid in the afternoon. How's that so great? So the Mefarshim explain, because you know what that's teaching you? Consistency. You want to be a Jew? Consistency. It's a keves echad taseh ba'boiker. Show up in the morning. It's a keves hasheni taseh ben arbaim. Show up in the afternoon. Show up in the morning. Show up in the afternoon. Every day. Kamidim kasidron. Every day, just showing up. The greatest lessons of the Torah is don't just be a one-trick wonder. One good day and then just disappear for a week. Another great 2 days and then like we haven't seen you in a month. Is totally be consistent day after day. Totally be consistent day after day. My friends, thank you so much for learning together. Have a wonderful day.